Yeah, I'm John Somerville, and I run a mixed deer sheep farm at Pine Bush, and on undulating, quite soft sort of country. And at the moment we're on the velveting block, which runs predominantly all the velveting stags from at this stage rising 3 years and up. And I recently completed a level 1 beef and lamb LEP, and part of the LEP is to sort of pinpoint all the issues specific to your farm and what you need to do to improve your water quality. And I guess it did confirm a lot of what I knew anyhow as far as issues on the farm. And behind was a gully system that was an issue with deer causing a lot of damage, so it's been recently fenced off, and I've planted some trees to give some shade and shelter. And this creek is quite important because it feeds directly into a major waterway lower down. And as you can see, there's other sidelands that have steep cliffs and banks of issues that have been fenced off that you can see behind me too. So it's all an important part of protecting the environment, and also it'll help the stock in the long term as the trees grow up, giving shade and shelter. We have a lot of critical source areas where they become a great catchment for water and overflow from sediment or E. coli from stock, and so it's important that they're protected. So in this case, the deer have been fenced out of them, and so the sheep have access to these areas, but they're not in an intensive form, and so it also allows the native tussock and flax to help filter the water systems also. This is the inside of one of the wintering barns they have on the property. This particular one, I have rising 2-year-old stags there and wintered in this one, and they go in at the end of May, and they stay right into later August. And during that time they're fed predominantly silage and troughs, and they might get some nuts in there on top. And there's a base of sawdust, and then it gets topped up every day with straw, which keeps it dry, and so it works really well. And air soils are too wet to have lots of young stags and any stag out in the winter time, so the wintering barn system works really well. Well, on my left here is a paddock of fodder beet, which are going to be used for a winter crop for primarily wintering hinds, and part of the selecting your winter crop paddocks is also the risk factor they have in the winter time, because it is one of our bigger nitrate loss parts of a farm, so it is very vital that how you cultivate them and how you feed them off. And this particular paddock here has a sideland there which could be exposed to waterways if it wasn't protected. So even though it has a good filter strip with trees and that around it, there is a sort of steep sideland, so I just keep the plough line up a bit to stop the side of the hill sliding away during the winter time, and also how you feed it off during the winter time, where you start on the flat part of the paddock and you work towards the sideland last, so there isn't any issue of that sliding into water systems. Right, we're here in the Kale paddock. It's a regal Kale, and it's used for wintering hinds, and the hinds come on here sort of mid-May and go right through into September, and they're fed off in 10-day blocks using the electric fencing. And the paddock is wintered, starting the flat stuff where we are in here now, heading towards the steeper stuff to reduce the risk of phosphate loss, and then the soils running down the steeper stuff. And you actually can't see, but over the back of the paddock there is a lot of vulnerable areas, and the cultivation has been kept well back from then, so it reduces the risk of loss of soil and phosphorus in those areas. A couple of things that have a real impact on your nutrient budget is your rainfall. The heavier the rainfall, the worse it can be, and also your wintering systems. The amount of area that you have under cultivation has a huge impact on the results of a nutrient budget, and also animal behaviour aspects, particularly of deer with fence pacing and that. So the more waterways that you have fenced out, protects from the effects of sediment getting down from fence pacing, makes quite a difference. I worked in really closely with my balance rep as doing the nutrient budget, and recommend all farmers to do one. because it's a really important aspect of your farming operation and gives you a broad understanding of the issues that you face. So it's a great opportunity to take this up with your local fertiliser company. Right, well, we're standing here by the boundary of the property, and there's been a long line of broadleaf planted here, and I quite like the broadleaf because they're a very tough native tree, evergreen, and the deer eat them and trim them, so that means that they're self-trimming. You don't have to have a hedge cutter, and they make a really nice low shelter. And our weather comes predominantly from the southwest, and pretty much the other side of these broadleaf, it's all downhill to the sea and in the southerly, so it is quite exposed, and so they're a really good tough tree, and the deer are really good with shelter because they pick the best spot to sit near shelter. Like with these broadleafs they'll be in close, but with sometimes of bigger trees, if the shelter's better further out in the paddock, the deer will be out in the paddock about 50 metres, so they're really a really good round shelter. Another species that I've planted a bit of is the toys and the Illyria. Illyria comes from the Chatham Islands originally, so it's a pretty hardy sort of plant, and it grows really well in our climate and makes a very good low shelter for deer also. Okay, but behind me is the remnants of some of the original native forestry that was in this area, and predominantly black pine with some white pine, and those are been a lot of it's been fenced off on that and protected from stock. And there's some really outstanding features behind me here. Some of those trees are hundreds and hundreds of years old, and we have there's a good bird life in those trees, and have a lot of wood pigeons which frequent them. So it's really good to have that bit of natural history on the farm.